legends where magic meets the heart. Command Pod, where the stories unfold, with heroes and villains new and old. Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan got the word. In the world of EDH we play.
Hello everyone, welcome again to Commander's Pod. I'm your pod father Duncan.
I'm Sloan.
And I'm Jeff.
Thanks for joining us today. We got several things we want to talk about. Today's going to be a little different, a little odd, a little weird, a little crazy facts.
Yeah, you could almost call this what your history teacher didn't teach you about magic in history class.
Which is, he didn't teach me anything about.
Well,
You sound like
should
you
have
had a
been
cool
better.
History teacher. But we're going to talk about some odd little things you might not know. We're going to talk about the new Marvel Secret Lair that was just announced.
Yes.
Let's go.
Very excited for that. We're going to talk about how brackets be real in the real world. And like I said, some odd facts, and we'll have a pro tip for you, and I'm sure Aggro Jeff will make an appearance.
Can we take a poll to see if anybody ever wants to hear you say that be real thing again? Or maybe ban it from you ever saying anything like that again?
If you had your way, I'd never say anything.
Well, I don't
You
know
want
if
to ban
that's true.
everything, I say. And then WOTC wants to ban every card I like, so...
I mean, they're not banning it. They're just
putting it
saying
on a
it's
list.
powerful.
Putting it on a watch list.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah, that's some fascist stuff right there.
That's, some people just call everybody fascist.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so Aggro Jeff, what's aggravating you this week?
My friggin' calendar.
Yeah?
Called
My
it.
calendar.
Called
You
it.
called that?
I called it.
How?
I said that you were going to complain about all the traveling and how you got so many things you have to keep going to and doing, and you got like
Yeah,
you're
I
just
have to go to Atlanta,
Oh.
go there one day. Hold on. I have to go there, go to a conference, then the next day wake up, go to the conference, then come back.
I'm going to play sad violin music over that.
right. You
For
should
sure.
100%.
it's
You should
not-
have an orchestra up here behind us of all violinists.
It's not that great. It's
The
just a lot,
violinist
and I'm
going
away
down
from
with
my
the
family. And then the calendar just rules your life. Like every time someone's like, "You want to do this?" Well, let me check my calendar. And like just everything you're doing when you're like, "Okay, I want to go do this," better check my calendar every single time.
So what
It's
you're,
ridiculous.
What you're upset about is being an important person.
Well, I'm not important. I'm just busy.
Well, you're a business owner.
I mean,
But
I'm
still not that.
I'm taking
you're
that
a
as a
manager.
win.
No one noticed
A
if
director
I.
at the
No one
company.
noticed if I was gone.
I mean,
Not very many, at least.
a few, a handful.
I'm taking it as a win. Like
I think you got it.
I think I got it.
Yeah,
For
you
sure.
nailed it, yeah.
Oh my god. What was yours again? Oh, the lack of time to play Magic.
Yeah.
Was what he said you were gonna do.
No, that's. I've gotten kind of used to that. Although I did have a lot of fun where I played like 3 weeks in a row
Yeah,
or
and
something.
then we're done for the year.
You
That's
know?
it.
No, I'm hoping to get back to that at some
Yeah.
point, but I make no promises.
Yes.
Yeah,
Duncan owes me a pack.
Nobody feels bad for Jeff. You were right. And yep.
He'll buy me a pack at the shop.
Anyway, let's talk about the new.
Did you
Marvel.
say you're buying yourself a pack?
No, I said he'll buy me a pack at the
Oh,
shop. I made
nice.
him buy me 2 cards when we left the shop last
so we'll
week.
split it then, because I kind of helped you.
Anyway, let's talk about the new Marvel Secret Lair. Not
Yes.
that we have many details, but it has been announced.
That's about the details.
Yeah. They'll be released the end of April.
Yeah.
One post I said, which was not official, said they think April 28th.
Okay.
All right, so keep your eye out. They will be all 6 mechanically new cards.
Okay.
We do not know what the cards will be, who they will be.
So I think this is another great chance for us to play another guessing game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we will, but let's go through what we do know first. And then the last thing is, that's the coolest, they will be available in non-foil version from WPN stores.
Right. Which I think this is this the second one they said they're going to do?
This is the first time they're actually following through.
What was the other thing where
They did the lands one, the what do they call it, the ultimate
The
Secret Lair.
SpongeBob
Oh.
isn't going to be available in the stores?
No, it's not.
Oh, really? Okay, so this is the first time
Yeah.
they're going to do it.
This
Yeah,
is the first
so-
one.
So it'd be very interesting to see how many they get.
Which is actually, just to do a quick callback, one of the things you had mentioned that you kind of disliked about the Secret Lairs was
That they were only available.
they were only ever available. Right. So I mean,
And
But
what they-
only foil is available online.
yeah,
yeah.
Non-foil
foil's
in the
only
store.
But I've
non-foil
already told my
only
store I'm
in-
buying 2 from them.
Yeah.
So I'll buy 2 non-foils from them, and then I'll buy my foils.
If they have
online.
enough.
I was the first to call about it. So I got the first dibs.
Yeah.
And the fact they were thinking about not placing an order, I'm like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
I was like, place an order as many as you can get.
Yeah.
I was
'cause-
like, I'll buy them all if you don't sell them.
I might buy one from them and then try to buy one online.
Do the foil. That probably.
Are you
try
going
and get
tonight?
the foil.
Yeah.
Tell them I'm good for another one,
Okay.
for one more.
All right.
And then I'll buy one online so that I'm guaranteed, and I'll buy one there, so I'm helping the store. If they don't have one, I still get one.
Yeah, like Duncan mentioned, no known characters yet, so we don't know what we're gonna see.
So let's talk about who could it be, right? Could be Deadpool.
Could be. It
Well,
could.
late, but it could be Deadpool.
I think it could also be extensions of the ones they just did.
It could also be Fantastic Four.
What do you
'cause
mean
didn't that
extensions? So like other characters in the same like.
No,
They already have-
new Captain America, new Iron Man. Is
No,
that
they
shown?
won't do
No, I mean more of like maybe like it's so we got Wolverine, maybe we get like his daughter, like what is her?
X-23.
X-23.
yeah.
The
right?
best,
Like
the best character.
maybe like and then we
In the
had
comics.
And Wolverine's the best character.
yeah, and we had
X-23
Captain
is-
America and Iron Man, so maybe we'll get like maybe their duos or it's like
War
maybe
Machine
yeah, like we'll get like War Machine.
Well,
and
it was
so-
Black Widow wasn't in the original. I mean,
Right,
she
and
seems
she's-
like a very popular person.
Yeah,
now.
Hawkeye's no one that also I don't think was in
Thor.
the original. Thor wasn't
We
in the
need
original.
Thor to go with Mjolnir.
Yeah.
I mean, that does make a lot of sense. You also could do Fantastic Four, because isn't that coming out, or did it
It's
come out?
coming out next year, I think.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
No,
well,
no,
that's
no.
we're probably not.
Is it
ready.
next year? I thought it was this year.
So I don't know.
They
But
officially launched a trailer at the beginning of this year.
Daredevil just came out. The new.
Oh,
series.
the new series. That's true.
I don't know if he's popular enough.
That was popular enough to do a TV series and bring it back.
That's
to bring it
because the
back.
original Netflix
but
TV
if they wanted
series
it
was so
to tie
good.
in,
I guess they could.
yeah. So it could be about that.
It's true.
The thing about the other ones is they all felt somewhat cohesive because they were all Avengers. But I don't know that they have to do that on this one. They could. I
no, they
feel like
weren't. Wolverine's not an Avenger.
yeah,
He
is.
has been at
Wolverine
one
is an
time.
Avenger, 100%.
Not 100%. He was an Avenger one time when they crossed over X-Men and Avengers. And
In the
joined.
comic books, he was an Avenger a lot.
No.
Yes.
No.
I mean,
Well,
I'm not going to weigh in that too heavily.
Let the
He
get-
was-
let
he was
the-
in
let the
Dark
viewers
Avengers,
go-
which was an unofficial.
Let the
Avenger.
viewers go look it up. We'll see who's right. Comment, please. Especially if
Dark
I'm right.
Avengers doesn't count. 'cause
If
that
I'm
was
not
a-
right, just
Comment more if he's
shut
not
up
right.
and you leave us alone.
But I mean, I so like we could get more of like the X-Men this time because we did get
I'd love it if we got the X-Men.
yeah, like get more X-Men.
Yeah.
That would be cool. So
I mean, they
because we
only
got
get two X-Men out of all those. Three.
Do you know how good Professor X will be? Because he'll definitely be blue.
I can see them doing like one X-Man.
I mean, it's hard to say because they did some X-Men and they did some Avengers. So it's hard to say like which way they would lean more. Maybe they'll split it
Is
again,
6
right?
enough for it? You got Cyclops, Jean Grey. They already did Wolverine, but you got like classic Iceman, Beast. Yeah, 6 might be enough to pull it off.
Well,
You could
'cause
do a
even-
Colossus would be cool.
Well, I think what they might do is they might split it again, right? So we might get like 3 more X-Men and like 3 more Marvel Avengers too. Is something they could do. Like we could get like because we don't have Hulk,
so pick
right?
one card that you think is going to be on there. Like one character that you think is going to be on there.
I think Hulk.
Hulk, okay? Well, you're thinking,
If-
I want to go Black Widow.
Yeah. So for Avengers, I think probably Thor would be the other good one.
Thor would be great
Because
because
Mjolnir already, yeah, it already
Those are
exists
good-
because of Assassin's
Those are
Creed.
good guesses.
So do we want to? Let's do one X-Men guess too, if they maybe split it, because that's only 3 cards. So
Okay.
what would be your X-Men guess if if we think they're going with X-Men too?
Jean Grey.
I'm gonna go Cyclops. I think they'll probably go.
Professor X.
Yeah. See that I was thinking that, but Cyclops
I
too
went Jean
because of that
Grey
Deadpool.
Because I know they want, like the last release, did it even have a woman? Storm?
Storm.
One woman? So I'm going Jean Grey because I know they want to
Yeah.
represent the ladies,
The-
and they should.
Yeah. The only reason why I'm going Cyclops is because he's been in the Deadpool stuff.
Now the other thing I
He
will
was
point
in
out
Cyclops is
that
wonderful.
that I read
Yeah.
that was a
Him
theory
and
that
Peter
makes
Parker.
sense. They could do villains this time.
That's true. I hope they don't do that.
Why? Do the flip side. There were villains coming out in the Spider-Man set.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, the villains are okay, but I love the heroes.
You wouldn't want to see Magneto.
Juggernaut.
Juggernaut,
Magneto's not a
Kingpin,
villain. He's just a misunderstood hero.
a genocidal misunderstood hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
Okay.
everything right.
So
So anyway,
Thanos. Oh, we could have Thanos
we
too.
could have Galactus.
Galactus. Yeah.
And Galactus
Dang it! Why
is
did you
in
say
the
that?
Final Fantasy movie.
Well,
Or the
Sabretooth.
Final Fantasy.
Oh, Sabretooth would be
Sabretooth
great.
would be
The
cool.
Fantastic Four movie does have Galactus in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that's good. They're gonna ruin it, but I hope.
What if
it's
they
good.
did all the enemies of those?
Those 6 that
Those
they
6.
they launched.
Yeah, it'd be really good because you had Red Skull.
Yeah, for
Oh,
Captain
that
America.
was
Yeah.
Then you would have, I would probably say Ultron for Captain America was kind of
Well-
like, I mean, not Captain America, Iron Man was kind of like his big thing because he made him.
Yeah.
No,
He
Red
literally
Skull
made
would be
him.
for Captain America.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Red Skull's Captain America. Ultron would be Iron Man because Iron Man
Sure.
built
Okay,
Ultron.
yeah.
Storm's a little harder. I don't know that she had it.
Black Panther, you have Killmonger.
But somebody did say Magneto for either Storm or I think Wolverine
Yeah.
because his bones are.
Yeah,
laced with
Magneto's
metal.
good for Storm. Yeah, Storm really just sort of did whatever and was she was just always awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if she had personal
So
enemies.
Wolverine,
I'm trying to
if she
think.
got Magneto, then Wolverine would get Sabretooth.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not the greatest comic book historian.
I mean, you're
but
not the
I'd read
greatest,
a
lots
lot.
of things. We like you anyway.
We are just on one today. Jeez.
It's Friday while we're recording this. So
That's
we are-
true.
Which,
We're-
by the way,
we're
sorry
late.
we're
Pent up
late.
energy.
Yeah, apologize for being late. We had family life things happen, so we apologize.
And then who was left? Did we get everybody?
No, I'm sure we didn't.
Oh, Black Panther. So Black
No, he
Panther.
did
No,
that.
Killmonger.
He did
Yeah,
that.
Black Panther. would be
Yeah,
Killmonger.
so it could be villains, could be those. That would be very. I think that would be the coolest thing.
I'd rather have the heroes.
Let's move on to that. Doesn't do what you think it does. So this one, it's kind of not a specific rule. I mean, it is a specific rule, but it's just something that I see a lot of players misplay, and it causes issues
Okay.
or can cause issues.
Right.
And that is Ristic Study or Smothering Tithe or triggers like that.
Mystic Remora.
Mystic
all
Remora,
those things.
Trouble in Pairs, things like that. When those abilities go off, you don't get to draw right away. You don't
Right.
even get to make the person tell you if they pay the one right away. That is an ability that goes on the stack.
Right. And so to be very specific, what we mean is we're playing in a game. Duncan has Ristic Study out. I go before Duncan. I cast a card.
Let's do Jeff cast a card just because there needs to be some
Sure.
space.
So Jeff casts a card. He then
It's Teferi's protection.
So he goes to cast Teferi's Protection. He then, it's his turn. He then can either A, maintain priority,
Right.
or B, pass priority.
Right, but what always happens is the person with Ristic Study or Smothering Tithe is like, yeah, but do you pay the one?
Right. And the reason why that's important is because that ability is a triggered ability that uses the stack. So when he casts his Teferi's Protection, it then puts the Ristic Study trigger on the stack. Then he has a chance to respond, and he says, well, before I pay that, I decide I'm going to cast another instant. Again, has to be instant speed. You can't cast a sorcery
So-
to force.
Here's the thing: people will be like, "No, but I don't care. None of that matters. I just want to draw my."
So
card.
if I
Can draw
miss my
card?"
chance to respond to the first trigger,
What if you?
I
pass
can
priority-
respond to the draw trigger?
No, because once you pass priority, that's what you're responding to now. That's the top of the stack is the draw trigger.
Yeah, but why doesn't everybody, if it's a trigger on the stack, why doesn't everybody get to
They
respond?
do get to, but
They
that's
do,
not how
but
people play it. That's exactly.
then
what
that's
we're
the
talking
issue.
about.
Right. So what I'm saying is if you miss your chance to deal with T-Pro,
That's you can't miss it. That's at the bottom of the stack.
Because
Right.
now the draw is above it.
Right. But now draw, the trigger of draw is happening.
Right.
Everybody gets to respond to that trigger, right?
But
Correct.
more people are going to be responding to fairies, which they can still respond to on the top of the stack. They don't have to wait till the bottom stack where Teferi's is. I can respond to it with the Ristic trigger.
Yeah, but
in
once
the
you
middle.
pass priorities, so you go. I'm going to do T-Pro. We pass. Everybody passes priority.
Okay, but this is my point. That's not how this usually goes at the table.
I get that, but I'm
So the
setting up
draw-
another reason to support your point.
Okay.
So the draw is now on the stack. You cast T-Pro, draws on the stack.
Yep. Now everybody passed priority comes back, and then you go, oh crap, that actually is a problem. I didn't see this other issue. If I don't do something, but I can't respawn because I already passed priority, but now I should be able to respond to the draw, because if it's on the stack.
No, if you being the first player, that is what you have the chance.
But even someone, I'm talking someone else. One of you two.
One of us.
You
two.
missed your chance to respond to T-Pro.
No, we didn't. That's at the bottom of the stack.
Let's say you did miss.
but
you
you
chose
can't.
to miss it.
That's my.
But-
You're
Oh, man.
talking about it in backwards.
But what he's saying, what Duncan is trying to say is, once everyone passes and this happens,
This is the draw. After
This
that
then
is the
happens.
fairy protection.
I get that, but when that draw happens, is that a stack? Like typically, when something goes on the stack, everybody gets to respond to it, don't they?
Right, and this is what you're not understanding. When you pass priority, if there is a Ristic Study trigger, that is above your Teferi's trigger. So you can kind of be tricky. You can do some cool things by passing priority. You say, I pass priority. I cast this. I pass priority.
Yep.
passes to him,
Pass.
passes to me. You can still then get a chance to cast another spell because what you are passing on is the draw.
Exactly. And you guys now have another chance if you missed the first one to respond to stuff that's happening because of the draw trigger.
But what often happens is the person is so intent on, I don't care about that. I want the draw. And I've seen times, and it's happened to me just this last weekend, where things happen. Maybe he goes to counter your thing, but his thing does something else that they like. Maybe it just wipes. Maybe it's a cyclonic rift.
Let's say it's a storm counter, so now there's like 3 stacks, and this guy just drew 5 cards, but he shouldn't have.
Right.
Exactly. And then he may try and respond to something
with a card he drew,
but the card he drew out of order, or maybe they don't tell you it's out of. But it's like, well, is it one of the cards you just drew? You just drew 4 cards, and you're trying to tell me the one you had was the one that could have done something. Heuristic Study and Smothering Tithe and anything like this is a triggered ability, goes on the stack. I know everybody's anxious to draw their card and make their tokens and just let's move this on. Let it resolve in the right order. It doesn't take that much longer to say, does everybody pass on the draw trigger? Can I have my draw trigger?
I have a cheat you can do that doesn't mess up what you guys are talking about because people do try to go faster on this. You just say, are you going to pay the 1? Take the card and put it down, face down where you can't see it. You can't look at it. But you drew it so you don't miss your step. And then another thing happens on the stack. Are you going to pay the 1? No. Okay, I put it face down. That way, if anybody, like something changes and you need to rewind for some reason, you haven't looked at the cards. They're still in order. No problem. You can put them back.
You can,
but that speeds it up a little bit.
It does, but it doesn't. Because the other thing that happens is you may not want to answer if you pay the 1 yet because you have 2 mana left, right? And if somebody tries to counter you, you can use that to counter them.
Right. And they can say that.
But if you spend 1 for Ristic,
they can say, well, it's not my chance
to priority.
It's not my chance to say that yet. I want to wait to say it on my turn. But most of the time, in 90%, 98% of the games, you would just typically say yes, but don't draw it, put it face down, and then we're safe. So that's like if you're going to go fast, good, but don't go fast in such a way that it ruins the game.
If it's going so fast that you need to do that, it's fine or whatever, if that's the way your group wants to do it. But let things settle in the right order because oftentimes something might happen that you're not even thinking about wanting your card or your token.
Right, 100%.
Your treasure. So let them resolve in the right order because in the instance I'm talking about the other day, the person kept trying to draw it. We ended up having like 5 cards on the stack, and then in between those 5 cards was
the draws.
2 different. There was a Mystic and a Ristic Study trigger on each of them. It was crazy. And as long as you don't pull your cards ahead of time, we can go back and figure it out.
Correct.
But if you've already got them in your hand, now we have to trust that you didn't.
Right, and that's no go. But I also say the same thing on the other side is like the person who says, no, you don't get to do any of that. Just wait till the triggers. Essentially what you're saying is I want you to have a higher chance to miss your trigger. And so if you're really worried about that, just go ahead and draw it, put it face down. That's where you know. Or even use a dice and say, hey, these are my draws. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they go, well, you didn't draw. Hey, I did the dice. I said I was going to draw. You did 100 different things. We got distracted. I didn't physically draw the cards, but I counted them out.
Right.
I counted my triggers, so let me draw.
Oftentimes, when you get into these things where there's tons of stuff on the stack and you're worried about forgetting it, best thing to do is use the spells that are causing the triggers on the stack. And maybe you can slip in tokens or something for where the draws
are. Or those like
are.
Infinity ones or just a blank one.
Just a blank one.
That would be fine too.
Stack, because it does make it easier. Then when you go to the end of the stack, 4 spells and 7 triggers later.
Yeah, this is especially crazy on Storm.
Yeah, because the other thing is too that's important is because with this, the draws are technically happening in between each spell, which then would technically give you
a chance to respond.
A chance to respond.
Right.
So you want to make sure you're drawing the right amount in the right order too. So if you do the face down things, just make sure you restack them in the right order because you technically be doing it backwards.
In the game I'm talking about,
I think the dice works best after we've
talked
about
the
it.
dice is, which is what the person ended up doing actually, and I think Duncan was one of the other people that had the same kind of triggers, and they were just counting dice up.
And we were hoping that some of those draws would help us respond to some of these spells on because it was a counter spell war. And
right.
Well, in case this doesn't go off, I'm going to do this. It was
because the other thing to point out is if they do bury that trigger on the stack, when it gets back to that trigger on the stack, they can then decide paying the 1 or not.
Right.
So it's again, it's one of those things that 98% of the time it's not something that will really come up because most people are just like, okay, yeah, you can draw your card. I'm going to keep going. But when you start having more intricate games where people are a lot better at understanding how the stack works and what things they do and don't need to interact with, that's when very niche rules like this really kind of show their face.
And people will often say, well, I'm not playing blue. I'm not going to draw a counter, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You could draw your own Teferi's Protection. You could draw.
Not only that, you
Cyclonic
can
Rift.
draw
You
into
could
something
draw-
that gives you information for the next turn, which
Right.
changes how you might respond to this turn.
Exactly.
Right. So
So,
it was a very cool interaction to watch happen because like watching everyone keep track of everything and then watching us unfold it turn by turn and watching how everything kept changing.
and it was like, I mean, it was 20 minutes later when the final draw and the final spell went off. But
Yeah.
it was important to go through because
That's
it was a
crazy.
big moment in the game.
Yeah, it was fun though. It was definitely a cool
Yeah.
interaction to watch.
So let's move on to our main topic: odd facts, things maybe you didn't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
First, Jeff, you had the first one that kind of brought up the idea.
Yeah,
for
so because I'm now buying some reserve list cards, you can look at the pictures of the ones you're going to buy on TCG and Card Kingdom sometimes. And when I'm looking at that, I'm trying to go, okay, well, what do I think this might grade at when I buy it? And as I've been looking at them, I'm like, there is some sort of really weird mark on the back of this card. It's like, well, that's not gonna grade well. And then I look at the next version, I'm like, how does that have the same mark? Is this the same seller? Look at another one, like, whoa, this is weird. What is this mark? So I was like, I'm gonna look it up. So I looked it up, and as it turns out, that's not a mark. That's how it's designed. There must have been, no one completely knows, but there must have been something in the print that caused this mark, and it goes
way
through.
back to Alpha.
Yeah, and it goes through the deck master word on the back of the card.
Yeah, I'm sure Duncan will probably put it up behind us
Yep,
somewhere so
and
you
I'll
can
try and
see
zoom
it.
in so you can
Yeah,
see
and
it.
zoom
See
on
if
the
I can
exact
find
spot.
it.
Through the
Card.
T.
Yeah, it should be.
Right there.
Yeah.
All right, it goes through the T, goes under the E, and then goes through the R.
Yeah.
And it does look like someone just took a pen and did a swirl through there. And as it turns out, it's really cool to talk about our game because I was talking to some guys here at the office, and I was like, this game's been around for a long time, so much so that when it first started, its print was not great. But we have this little piece of history on the back of every Magic card that says, hey, we might not have known where this was going to go. We started out as this really small thing, but look what we did.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. That's a very American sort of, create something and build something from nothing and then make it this amazing thing.
Right.
Very cool.
The thing, this one is actually listed as D, but it goes right with this, so I'm going to bump it up, put it at B.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason they have the deck master on the back is originally they were going to have many different games combining to make this overall deck master series of games.
Correct. They did
All
not.
Richard Garfield.
They had not figured out to just keep doing expansions that all work together yet.
Right.
It's wild.
But not even just that. They also did a vampire game very early on that was a deck master game, but it was entirely different mechanics, entirely different.
And there's another Andrew Garfield game. I don't remember. Is it on here?
I don't see it.
No. But there's another Andrew Garfield game that he did create that was also.
Deck master.
I don't think it was. It might not have been Deckmaster, but he did create.
Oh,
it at
he's
the same
created
time.
several other card games.
Yeah.
But Deckmaster, so like Arabian Nights was originally going to be a Deckmaster game, not Magic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So that was that probably was the first one that they did. And so you can still, there is images out there on the internet, I'll try and put one behind us, of the original artwork for the Arabian Nights back where it was going to be its own game.
That's wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
would've been
crazy how things work out.
It's pretty
so,
cool.
And in Japan, they still have another Deckmaster game. And a few years ago, when I was at MagicCon 30 or Magic 30, they had just released these. They
Oh
used
yeah, that's
Jewel
right.
Lotus.
You bought one for me.
Or not
yeah.
Jewel Lotus, Black Lotus.
Yeah.
They used the art and the idea of it in this game, not with the same mechanics. So I actually have a real printed Black Lotus, but it's for this other game.
Yeah, and so do I, because you called me. I was like, yep, I'll take one too.
Yep.
That's cool.
And we paid way more than they were worth, but it's just because it's a cool piece of history.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something. That's cool.
So another thing, so talking about their print problems and their lack of quality, when Revised first came out, it was washed out. They thought the colors were dull, and there was a couple errors they had found. So they wanted to fix it. So they started a project of getting it fixed and resubmitting it to the print run and stuff. And they got all the way to where the product was printed, ready to go. And they said, well, now it's too late. Forget it. However, 40 boxes got released before that trigger got pulled somehow. And they were known to have gotten out. Like, it was confirmed, gotten out. Not like stolen, not like lost. They just got out early.
Yeah.
So that is the rarest set.
I wonder if there's
In
any
Magic.
unopened boxes of that stuff.
Oh, can you imagine?
Someone's got to have one.
They call it Summer Magic is how it's referred to. And if you look up on TCG Player specifically, I'm sure on Card Kingdom and stuff too, you can see the cards, and they're wildly more valuable than their
Oh
regular
yeah, one
revised
can imagine.
counterparts.
Get that soul ring.
Yeah. Jeez.
So that is
That'd
the
be insane.
rarest set that you can get because it was only 40 bucks.
Yeah, so if you buy that soul ring, you'll have the rarest soul ring in all of Magic. Well, maybe you won't because there are.
Yeah, they made
variants.
they made the one of the human soul rings and the elven soul rings and stuff, and those only had a specific number that they printed. So there may be rarer soul rings.
That's the hard thing. Is like, do
I
you
don't-
buy
well-
for rarity or for history?
right.
Well, but here's the thing, though. Technically, if there was only 40 boxes that were sent out and not every pack has a soul ring,
That's true. It might be the rarest.
it might be the rarest because
We'll never know because Wizards doesn't tell us how many they print.
Well,
that's
there's not
true.
a one of one soul ring, is there?
no, the only
If
one
there's
of
a
one
one of
card in
500
existence is that one. The
If
one
there's a
ring.
1 of 500, you can. Was soul ring common?
Well, there were 2 cards that were only printed 1 card that were given out by Wizards, but they consider them official. So there's 2 other cards
Yeah,
that there's only one of in existence, but they weren't serialized.
right.
Yeah, and are they playable?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not.
Well, the one
legal.
that
Yeah.
the one that they made, I think.
But they are official products. So it
These
is
summer
an-
Magic cards would be legal, playable.
Yes.
I think technically the one that they made for Post
Some of
Malone's
them
legal,
are banned. What?
and I did a 101 of that.
A 101 of
It's
what?
not serialized
Oh,
or
yeah,
anything.
yeah, no.
Post Malone's
Maybe you're right.
very first deck he ever built was Zur the Enchanter,
Yeah.
and so
That's a busted deck.
yeah. So what they did was when he got a lot bigger into Magic, they presented him with a Post Malone official Magic the Gathering card where it's his picture on there as him as Zur the
And
Enchanter.
they later did a Secret Lair with him as Zur the Enchanter, but this
But
was
he's
before
just
that.
Sir the Enchanter, right?
Right,
Yeah, I
but
don't
it
care
is
about that.
technically a legal card for him to use if he goes into a tournament because technically proxies, and they say other things are not legal, tournament legal. They said this is an actual Wizards of the Coast
Right, and
official
so those-
legal
those
card.
2 cards you were asking
Good luck
about,
buying that.
Yeah, he's
those
not
2
giving her.
cards you were asking about
Wait till he dies.
are legal for the person that they were distributed to.
Well, no,
That's
some
so
of the
funny.
cards that they create special for people because they've
Well, they do
created-
in-house
I
stuff
think they
a lot.
created
Yeah.
some for the
The
guy's
Heroes of
wedding.
the Realm.
They created some for the guy's wedding. Those aren't legal though.
No, so they say on them, this card is legal to play for the person who this was
Oh
issued.
wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Oh, but not even if you buy it. So it's only
Yeah.
for that person.
Only that person.
So you'd have to steal their identity too.
Yeah. Hold
Don't
on,
do
hold-
that. That's wrong,
Yeah,
people.
don't steal identities to play Magic.
It's a serious issue, Jim.
Sloan, why don't you do yours?
Yeah, so one of the ones that I kind of noticed more recently is the flavor text that we always kind of refer to and talk about in the card of the day or that we bring up and mention. It will sometimes quote somebody that's not a real person in the actual game of Magic.
Right.
So they'll quote somebody and it says this long flavor text and it says this person's name. It's not a real card. They're
you
in
can't
the
find
lore.
that card,
Yeah, the card doesn't exist. And it's funny because there have been some times where they then make a card for that person and you can go back and find the cards that their quotes are on that are from that person. But that person wasn't a card to begin with. So they did
the
it.
quotes
I think
before
that's
the
great,
person.
and I don't
They
think
did
they
that-
should go back and make them because that's Tom Bombadil. Like the way that was supposed to be created, Tom Bombadil was supposed to be a mysterious character,
Right.
and they're ruining him by making him not mysterious.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you can look at it that way if you want to be negative. But I was just saying, I thought it was really cool that you can look at these cards. You're like, wait a minute, who is this person? It's just it's just a person
Yeah.
in Magic somewhere that said
Yeah.
this quote.
And if you can find some examples of them, send them in. We'll talk about you on the next podcast, and we'll talk about the card you suggested.
Yeah. So, I just thought it was really cool that they sometimes will quote people from the Magic universe that doesn't have a card, they don't have anything, but maybe later on there could potentially be that card that comes into existence of that person. So, but I discovered that recently because a lot of times the flavor text is just like words, but occasionally they do quote people in Magic. So
Yeah, I love when they do that. I think it's cool. There's one more we're missing.
So the one I was going to talk about next is so Alpha Edition, right, had cards that were going to be printed. But Beta and Alpha should match up because they didn't change
In
anything.
theory, yeah.
Except that Volcanic Island and Circle of Protection Black were not in Alpha. And the reason was they didn't make it in time to be printed, the final versions.
That's wild.
that's crazy.
So they were just left out of the print run. They didn't make the deadline, and it's like, okay, we got to get off to the printer too late.
This game is so cool. It's so rich. It has such neat history. It's still a marvel to me that they've come from where they were to what it is now.
Right. Well, the thing is, if somebody tries to sell you an Alpha Volcanic Island, don't buy it.
Yeah, unless you're also going to buy a bridge in Brooklyn.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah,
So-
that's crazy. Yeah, I didn't even realize that about.
Do they still do that? Do they still have people going up to people in New York selling the Brooklyn Bridge?
I don't.
I
think
bet
so.
they don't, but that's sad. I think I might go do it. See how much we can get.
I think it is like almost like a New York saying now. Like they use that.
Well, but you can buy
very
a
frequently.
plot of land in Mars.
Yeah, you
That's
can.
also, by the way, buying those stars things. That's also a scam.
Oh yeah.
They're all scams. It's ridiculous. You can't buy a star.
No.
Sorry.
I mean, you can't. Maybe I'm rolling it, and I got like
So-
20 stars.
When Connor was
Make my own
born-
constellation.
When Connor was born, there was a thing you could put a name in the space shuttle, and they would take a plaque with everybody who bought their name and bring it into space.
That's
So I
pretty
did
cool.
that. That was a
And
real.
what does that
physical-
do?
Nothing,
Do you
just-
get the plaque afterwards?
No. I mean, it was one plaque with all.
So
names.
one of the coolest things I ever saw someone do was in Palladium, which is the game system for Rifts.
Yep.
If you, I don't remember what you had to do. You had to buy something or something. And your name, they did this special role-playing game book where they had heroes that were created. You could be one of those heroes.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine did that, and he's in that book. So when you play that role-playing game, you could be him,
That's cool.
which
Yeah.
that is kind of cool,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe
cool stuff
Magic
like
should
that.
do something like that for cards. They'd get some whales
Well,
to pay
so
some money.
they don't do that, but what they have done is put winners of championships on cards.
Yeah, that's cool. I
They've
like
used
when
their
they do that.
likeness in a card.
I like that.
That's
Yep.
pretty cool.
Well, Post Malone's on a card.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
I mean, he's
And
definitely
he
a whale.
Paid a lot for that, probably.
I don't
I
think
mean,
he did.
He didn't actually pay anything, but
He's
he's
just an
He
ambassador
did in
for
the
the game.
free advertising.
Right. He's
Yeah.
an ambassador for the game.
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny if you guys don't know who Post Malone is or you don't understand what his influence is in the game. Just go look up his interview with Howard Stern. It's hilarious. It's one of the funniest.
Yeah, but maybe just
Interview.
watch the interview part because
Yeah, I mean, just watch the segment about. It's like maybe like 3 to 5-ish minutes. I think they talk about Magic or whatever in the interview because Howard Stern's just blown away that he's like, what do you do after your contract?
He
We
also-
go play Magic.
he also talks about it on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he talks about it on Joe Rogan, and so, but I will say, like, kudos to Magic and the guys over at the Command Zone for embracing him, and he's become a really big, part of Magic, the Magic
There's
scene.
a lot
so.
of them. There's a
Yeah.
lot of celebrities that go through the Command Zone. There's a lot of people that enjoy playing Magic.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
It is cool. I mean, and again, to your point, like this started off as something back in '92, as a just kind of one-off, like random game to kind of start playing.
Yeah.
And now they sold someone bought a card for $2.5 million.
Yeah.
like yeah. So I mean, it's definitely it's cool to sit down and see and kind of realize what you're able to be in and stuff like that, and what you're able to kind of see through just even the cards and the old printings and the old arts and all the other cool stuff they did.
That's
so.
why I'm willing to buy some of these reserve list cards because I'm like, they may be worth nothing at some point, and you just never know.
Yeah.
But it's the history of a game that came from nothing and became something, and it's like, it's pretty cool no matter what ends up happening. It's like a little piece of history.
Yep.
Right. Absolutely.
So those were just some things that we found that we thought were odd facts. That,
Yeah.
Things we may not have known that we thought you might want to know. Just kind of share them with you there. If you have any odd facts that you think are worthy, send them to us, cast@commanders.com.
About magic.
Yeah.
I don't want to know about,
I don't know about your cat that looks like.
I don't want to know
Betty
about
Davis.
your love life or how you make
A
your
certain
pasta.
mole you have.
Actually, I kind of want to know how you make your pasta. You can send that. There's some cool ways to make pasta.
I mean,
I mean,
most of them involve boiling water and cooking it, I think. That's all
Well,
I
you
need.
don't know how to make pasta, clearly. So.
at least not interestingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. How about pro tips?
Yeah. So, kind of reaching back into the bag of what happened recently on a trip to the shop. So we had a game that was coming to an end, and Duncan stole someone's planeswalker, then used said planeswalker's ult. And the
It's hard
person,
to steal a planeswalker.
When
Yeah.
it's set for an ult.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Felt real good.
What card
until
did you use to do that? Sorry, Johnny.
no, that's okay. I think it was
It was
gain control, target permanent.
control magic.
Okay. Yeah. Don't see
Yeah.
that a ton.
So that happened. He goes to ult, and the person whose planeswalker got stolen and ulted. Now again, I don't think that's why they said this.
Well, I didn't even get to say and I ulted. I said I gain control of your planeswalker.
Right, and the person said, "Oh, he's gonna ult. He wins the game. We're done." And like starts like picking up all their stuff. And I'm like, well, and when he did that, the other person, because we were in a 4-pod, the other person starts picking up their stuff, and I'm just like, well, I don't really want to concede. Like, I don't know why.
This always happens to you.
Right, and I'm like, I don't understand why
you
we're
don't do
conceding.
politics.
And they're like, well, he's gonna be able to get one card from each of our decks and cast it for free.
How does that win you the game instantly? though?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
That's
like,
what he was saying.
that was
But
my
the
whole
thing is,
point
I know
was.
that I can
Some
get-
ults, it's like pick up your cards, it's over. But that ult, I don't know.
So basically, the ult was because it was for Jace, right? If I remember correctly, Jace, his ult was you can go through each opponent's deck, get one card, and you may cast that card without paying its mana cost this turn. So he gets to go through 3 other people's decks, find a card, and cast it. And so I was like, well,
I mean, if you have like expropriate, I'm scooping, but yeah.
No,
Right,
right. Like
and-
the one we did come up with that I could have done is Thassa's Oracle.
Yeah.
right,
Oh.
Which
which
I gotten Thassa's Oracle from one player and Demonic Consultation from your.
Nope.
what
I was playing blue-red.
Was the other guy.
Right,
we
but-
figured out I could have
You
done
guys
that
play
one.
such ridiculous decks.
right. But my point was like, well, can you at least let him get there? Because obviously, like, you're sitting here telling him what he could do, and I'm not saying that Duncan's a bad player, and I'm not saying that he's unexperienced. He doesn't know what to
But
do.
he might not be that smart.
He just might not be able to
Yeah, it might
look
be that day.
because
That's the implication.
my
implication.
yeah, the whole point was like, well, let him play it out and figure it out and at least get there. If he then pulls out the 3 cards and says, "Hey, if I do this, I'm pretty sure I win the game unless you guys can stop me." Great. I'm okay with scooping at that point. But like, I didn't even know what was in the other guy's deck that would have helped him. Like
Yeah, in casual commander, you might not. You might
right.
get 3
And like that was my whole
powerful
point.
things, but that's it. You got a really cool dragon, really cool vampire, a really cool elf. That's it.
Yeah, and so at the end of it, my whole point is if someone does something like that, granted, I'm sure that Duncan definitely would have found the win. I'm not saying that that's not a possibility, but at least let him find the
Well, and
win.
The way I had
Like,
to do it.
let him get there.
In your defense, the way I would have had to do it, it says in turn order. So I would have
Correct.
to go through this person's
Right.
deck, find a card,
You
go
don't-
through this person's
Right.
Right? You don't know what the
other.
other person has, so you can't get a combo.
Right.
This other player who I got the Planeswalker from was last. But by the time he's argued any of this, they've all both shuffled up their deck.
Right, and I was like, it kind of upsets me
wait,
because
you,
it's like,
Johnny, you say, "Hey guys, hold on, slow down," and they don't. They just keep.
yeah, because the other guy
Well,
just
it wasn't exactly like that. He's like, wait, what are you talking about? Game over, he wins, and he's picking up his cards, and at that point he's already shuffling, and he's like,
and then the
he's
other
like,
guy
well, obviously he
that
won.
was
He's
playing
gotta
in the
get
pot.
a card from each of us and cast it for free.
So then the other guy starts scooping and cleaning up. I'm like, yeah, but I don't like that. Doesn't mean anything.
So in real time, like he didn't even get a chance to really get into the
Yeah,
discussion to
'cause-
find
You
out what
guys
was
should.
going
So-
on.
You guys should make the house rule at the beginning of every game. You should, especially for that shop. You scoop at sorcery speed only. Period. End of story, and that resolves that.
Well, and I get what you're saying, but ultimately, my gripe with it, I don't even care that he scooped at instant speed. Like, that's not my frustration. It's the fact that he's basically telling us we lost, just give up. Like, don't tell me I've lost the
But
game.
in
Like,
def-
stop it.
For
Like,
you, if you want to win, and they can scoop at instant speed, you want to encourage them to. Please scoop. He
No,
doesn't
I
get-
don't.
No, because
In this instance, if I encourage, it actually would have been better for me to let him scoop at instant speed because then he wouldn't have been able to do anything.
That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with
But
you.
he
But
wasn't.
I wasn't
he was
arguing.
conceding at instant speed. He wasn't necessarily trying to scoop at instant speed. He thought everybody would agree with
Right.
it.
So what that it does is he's out of the game, and you lose his card.
Right, but then that
Then I scoop, because that's baloney.
Well, but that's
went
why I'm
from
saying
winning
there
the
should
game
not
to now I
be
got
instant
nothing.
speed scooping.
right, which I understand, but ultimately what it came down to was that person was just convinced, and then on top of that, when I was like, well, why does that mean he wins? He's like, well, he'll go get this card from my deck, he'll get this card from your deck, and he'll get this card from his deck. I was like, yeah, but he doesn't.
He doesn't know what's in those.
Right,
decks.
like you're telling him answers now that he may not have been able to think of, and he would have had to do it
was
in
also
order.
Perfectly legitimate for me. You can say, what could I get from your deck that would be really good? What can I get?
Yeah,
from
you
your
can
deck?
ask
They
me
could
that.
just
I
say,
could.
no, thank you.
Yeah,
not
I
telling
could say
you.
go look for it. I'm not going to tell you what to
Yeah,
get.
you're not, but the other two probably would have because they want to move on. They
That's
want to play
really
another
sad.
game.
Well, and that's my whole point. So if you're going to think someone is going to win the game because of something happening,
pick
and
up
there's
your cards
yeah,
until you get
do
everybody to
until
agree.
everyone agrees
That's
that
the
the
only way
game
you
is
should be able to
over.
scoop at instant speed.
Yes,
is with
until
agreement
everyone
from
agrees the
everyone.
game's over, I would just highly recommend you consider what you're doing before you do it because, especially in that instance, Duncan would have had to gone in order and known what card he got from here, and then try to find what card he would have gotten from
But I
here,
think
and
we
then try
did
to
also forget
find.
I could have gotten doubling season from this player, and then any of the great planeswalkers from the
No,
player
I think
that-
he was red white.
I don't know about that, but anyway.
I can't
Well,
remember
now
what
we'll
the
never
was.
know. That's
So.
the whole point.
But anyway.
But yeah, so that's just my. So if and again, I understand it's on a case by case, but ultimately, if you're going to say, hey guys, I'm pretty sure he's going to win here, don't just start picking up all your cards and shuffling and ending the game without consent from other players.
Yeah, unless you want to frustrate Johnny, which
I mean, there's
I
something
might
to
approve of that. Yeah.
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 So my plague story from this week, the same night happened. So I just want to point out, whatever you think about the brackets and whether you like them, don't like them, whatever, they do a good job of breaking down the game.
They do.
And I will tell you, I have seen enough real world evidence that game changers are that. Now, maybe some of them may not be as strong as others, and maybe they shouldn't be on the list because there's other cards that are powerful that maybe should be on the
Everybody
list.
has opinions.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, as a generalization, the game changers are just that.
Yes.
And during that night, there were 3 games. Was it 3 or 2? I think it was 3. Where
I think 3.
one player was playing decks with a lot of game changers.
Right.
Level 4 decks, verified. I mean, they knew they were level 4.
Yeah.
I was playing a deck
High
with
level
no,
level
no
4.
game changers. I think you had one on one.
My
of those.
my Indoraptor I think has a game changer. Maybe? I don't
And the
know, I
other
can't
player
remember.
said probably none. And for those 3 games,
Which means 1.
we were just not. It wasn't.
Yeah, we were in the same realm.
After 2 or 3 rounds, it was very obvious.
And I also played with my kids, and we found out the same thing. We've been playing Magic, and we've been trying it. Yeah, when you have game changers, like my Uro deck, there was no point in playing any deck that doesn't have game changers against that.
Yeah.
We're getting crushed.
Yeah.
You
Now
just didn't think about it until now.
I'm telling you, I can play decks that don't have game changers, and even the deck I was playing, like it was at least competitive enough to be a game.
But you're probably not going to win at a high
Right,
percentage.
but they're going to have answers to everything I do, or they're going to be able to wipe the board without
and
me.
free
Or
cost
get back.
answers.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
Yeah.
wild.
Like that's why he said, oh, I have every free counterspell in this deck. I go, you know how many free counterspells are in mine? 0.
yeah.
Yeah.
It makes it. That's what happened with Uro specifically. Was the free counter spells, Cyclonic Rift and Rhystic Study. It was like, oh my gosh, what do we
Yeah.
do against this?
Yeah,
We're
so-
playing humans.
So I understand it's not perfect, and I understand that some people are like very upset that it exists, and it's not. Yes, you're not required to play by it, but it is a good guide for deciding how to match up.
But to some degree,
Decks.
we know why some people are upset. They don't want the accountability.
Yes,
You know,
they want to be able to pull out the decks they want to
Yeah.
play to be able to pub stomp.
It's that well, yeah. They don't want the accountability. Whatever for whatever reason that is, they want to be able to do whatever they want to do, and I get it. But there's rules in games for a reason. Sorry.
So Duncan, would you say that maybe the vagueness of the brackets is okay?
No.
No.
4 and 5 is still.
Well, I'm not just talking about that because I remember when we went over the brackets,
it's
you
not
very
done yet. They're
specifically
gonna
said,
fix it.
which I know they will. They'll definitely. They're again still in beta.
Yeah.
But I remember you talked about
Is
how
the
vague
vagueness
certain
okay?
things.
No, is the vagueness okay? No, and
But
I think the vagueness.
that's
should
part of the
be-
brackets.
I
I'm
know, I
just saying.
understand. And it needs- the
And you
vagueness
just said the
needs-
brackets are pretty good.
No, I did not. I said they are a good indicator.
Right.
They're a good start.
The brackets are good. They're not perfect. They do require people to use their brains and
They're
their
a good
mouths to
start.
communicate. It's a great start.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And so, but you're right, Duncan. People ought to, yes, you can. And I think we talked about this too. Is what if I were you, what I'd do is I'd just say, I'm going to sit down at this table. We're doing threes. Someone sits down and says, I don't have a three. Great, go to a different table. Well, but there's no open. Sorry, we're playing threes.
Yeah.
It's like this is what we're playing.
Well,
if
what we
you don't
did-
have any decks
what
that
we
are
did
threes,
after that is
sorry.
we said, okay, you tell us what you're playing, and then we'll decide what we're playing.
Right, but again, with that shop, all that does is now you're just playing high-powered decks all the time.
Except that person got curb stomped that game
oh yeah,
and then walked away.
Yeah.
So
can't
worked.
solve that problem.
Yes,
but yes,
exactly.
that doesn't always work though. Sometimes you're just
I
stuck
mean-
playing Selvala all night.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think the point is
it does. if
Which,
you
by
make
the
it-
way, is tier 4.
So
It's
I will
tier
also
3.
say,
Oh, sorry.
2 of the 4 players did not like or were going to adhere to the tier system. So one of the 3 of us that also was playing a lower power deck felt the same way as the person who was playing those higher power decks. But they couldn't argue the fact that I'm like, look, you can see that those game changers are the cards that are making the difference.
It's so ridiculous.
So at that point, I don't know. I have to
mean-
talk to him again and find out, did that change your mind?
Yeah.
I mean, because I will say, like, one of the decks I built was that new mono red deck, and I kind of just finished throwing it together with the cards I had available, and like I played it, and it's very one-minded. Now, granted, mono red is trash to begin with, but it's very
I
one-minded.
don't know. My Neheb deck's pretty good.
Yeah. So it's definitely not going to compete with anything that is super fast and super high level because it's just I'm just gonna put my commander out. I'm gonna make you guys kill each other with my commander, and then when it gets back to me, I'm gonna kill one of you with my commander. Like it's very straightforward. There's not a lot going on with it. So
But my point is just everybody really look at it, whether you agree with it or not. Look at it, evaluate it for what it is. See the parts of it that maybe you can use. Maybe you just like the game changers and to know how many game changers people have. Maybe that's all you want out of it. How many game changers are in your deck?
Right.
You have 3. You have 3. I have about 4. We should be okay. You know?
Yeah.
You know? You
Yeah.
have 0. You have 0. You have 0. I have 10. Okay, that's not fair. You know? Try those things out. If you don't like the whole system, the game changers is a definite good indicator on high power decks.
Yeah, and there are places to flex your anarchy. Like you just don't want to be told what to do.
You may have a
Just
deck.
hang out at home, watch whatever TV shows you want, play whatever. No one will tell you what to do.
You don't even
when
have to
you
put
show
pants
up
on.
at a shop with other human beings, right, to play a game that has rules. That's not the time for anarchy.
and
Sorry.
real quick, again, technically these are not rules. This is a guideline beta system. If you don't want to use it, you technically do not have to use it. However, if other people are trying to use it, don't tell them it's stupid, you refuse to use it, deal with it or grow up. That's probably not the best way to deal with that.
Right. And the way
That's all I'm saying. It's there, but yes, technically they are not rules. They are guidelines that are in a beta test.
it's like pirate.
Want to
decks.
emphasize
They're
that.
not rules, they're guidelines.
Yeah. They're not so much rules. as they
Well,
are
when I sit down
guidelines.
at a table, if I want to play a 3, it's going to be a rule if you want to play with me. It's your choice.
Wow, you
don't have
rhyme.
to
That's so
play.
cute.
I know. I'm so great.
You are. You're the greatest rhymer of third grade words I've ever known.
But
I'm
anyway,
great at something.
so that's just kind of our stories from play.
Yeah.
Take it for what you will. You can certainly believe whatever you want to believe, but I'm saying don't just get angry at it. Take a good look at it and really see if you can just sit back and watch some games.
You cannot believe whatever you want to believe.
You can.
No, you can't. That's stupid. The Earth is not flat.
For them,
Write me in for that. Remember, you can find me at Duncan at Commands Cast.
Command key doesn't even
I don't even know what it is.
Oh,
even know how-
commanderspot.com. It's all right.
I don't know.
Yeah, he finished it for you. So there
I
you go.
got you.
Thank you.
But that's about all the time we have. I do want to remind everybody about the contest.
This close.
We're 48. We have 48 subscribers.
So two
more?
more? All
So we're
right.
there.
I mean, just sign your
And
grandma up. She won't even know.
We're still a couple weeks away from the ending. So
Yeah.
next week, I'll bring in some more things because I'm sure by then we'll have hit it. I'll bring in some more things to sweeten the pot and,
And then-
encourage
Don't forget to actually be in the draw. You have to.
be a subscriber to either YouTube or Patreon.
And then,
You have to email us, unless you're Patreon, then you don't have to email us at all.
right?
But you should, because you'll get an extra entry, right?
If
If
you
you're
have somewhere
if
besides
you have
Patreon.
somewhere else you subscribe
Which
to,
you would think they must because they listen to us somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can't listen to us on Patreon.
Right.
So-
This randomly typed in Patreon Commanders
Yeah,
Pod.
they just subscribe
All right,
to us.
subscribe. I don't know what they do, but here you go.
Anyway, Patreon subscribers do get 3 for being Patreon.
Yep.
And we have gotten a few more of those too, so that's nice.
And then one additional entry for every other place you are subscribed to, which is what the email needs to contain.
Right. And I will tell you, I've had to email back a couple people and say, hey, where else are you subscribed? Because I did have one person say I'm only subscribed on Patreon, or not I'm only, said I'm subscribed on Patreon and didn't tell me anywhere else.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, I know you listen to us somewhere, watch us on something.
Yeah, you gotta.
So anyway, so we are giving away the full foil Marvel Secret Lair, the first one, not this new one.
Yeah.
The full set, and we are giving away as secondary prizes a Commander's Pod backpack and a Commander's Pod crossbody bag. So, and more to come next week.
Which it's not a purse, it's a satchel. Indiana Jones has one.
Yes,
Every week.
every week. So don't forget, just email us, cast@commanderspod.com, subject contest, body where you subscribe.
That's the email I meant.
Yep.
Nailed it.
Got there. Got there.
You're so good, Jeff.
5 minutes later.
The best.
Anyway, thanks for joining us today. As always, you can check us out on our website, commanderspod.com. Email us again at cast@commanderspod.com. You can support us at patreon.com/commanderspod. And for this whole month, free Jingataxias.
Curb stomp Duncan.
Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold, with heroes and villains, new and old. Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan guide the way in the world of Oddities we play. So tune in, friends, let's fly and go. In the Commander's Pod, the love will show. From our decks to yours, we share the spark in this world of magic. We'll leave our mark.